Hello.
Hi, guys.
I think we've got this figured out. So today, Coffee with Coaches, we are talking about digital citizenship because it's Digital Citizenship Week. So I think Jenny is going to take us through Common Sense Education, which has so many resources for digital citizenship and beyond, basically anything technology related, so that we can explore that. So Jenny, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Corey. All right. I'm going to try and share my screen. Okay, that's lovely. I don't have two monitors. Thank you for the suggestion. All right. Share. And can you see my screen?
We are good.
All right. So when you go to commonsense.org, this is sort of your landing page. This is where you end up. And they have a great section on common sense media. So this is a resource that either you can use as a classroom teacher or parents can use. And it gives the most recent ratings on movies that your kids might watch or games they might play, websites they might go to, and if they're really appropriate, and it gives reviews on them. This is where the most common space for educators to go. So if we click on Common Sense Education, then it's going to take us here, and we're on for educators. When you join, the easiest way to join is with your Gmail account for your GRCSU. So I'm just going to sign in with Google. So choose my GRCSU account. There we go. Now I'm logged in. And there is so much here. So here it actually even talks about Digital Citizenship Week. And if you click on that, it actually even says why digital citizenship. Because especially right now, more than ever, being a digital citizen is about taking ownership of our actions and using technology responsibly and respectfully. So that's a message that we want all of our students to have, right? So you notice, if I can stay there long enough, we have our curriculum, resources, and student games. The curriculum is a great place to go because this is where you're going to find all of your lesson plans, and the lesson plans are done out for you already. You can pick and choose what parts you want to do. You can do it by grade. It has great short videos to watch, and we can take a look at one of those. Let's go to a lesson plan and see what that looks like. All right, so this is where we can go in and go by grade. So let's say I'm a third grade teacher. I'm just going to click on third grade, apply. And then it's going to give me a list of all the different topics that I could do. And so let's start with your rings of responsibility. And when I go there, it shows you all of the things that are included in this lesson. So it tells you what your students will be able to do. So here's your learning targets. Here's your vocabulary. Here is what you're going to need. Everything is listed here for you. So there's even slides. There's a quiz. There's printouts. There's a letter that goes home to families. There's an activity that they can do. So all of these are things that you can print out and send home to families. And this might be new. I don't remember seeing this before. It says, don't have time for a full lesson. Use this quick activity to engage students around key learning outcomes. So maybe you don't have the full 45 minutes to touch on this, and maybe you only have 15 minutes. Then you can click here, open, see what this looks like. Okay, yeah. So it's basically a really condensed version of the full lesson. This could be maybe a must do or a may do on your choice menus. Pretty cool. Let's see, what else? There's all kinds of professional development too. So articles and webinars and trainings, and it's not just the digital citizenship topics. There's all kinds of like teaching online, those sorts of things that you can access as well. There's something else I should point out?
Well, I was just going to say that before meeting with you guys, I actually just attended one of their pre-recorded webinars that was engagement strategies for reimagined classrooms. So essentially, how are we engaging our students in a hybrid setting or in a socially distanced setting or even a completely virtual setting? And what I loved about it was put on by Common Sense Education through what is it, EdWeb,
Yeah.
and they used examples of lessons and showed how they can modify lessons so that they're still engaging and still encourage that collaboration with students, but in a virtual way. So they've got some great stuff on there for training for teachers.
They do. There's a lot, and they're quick and easy too. They're not like. Did you find that, Corey, that it wasn't really long and
It was about an hour.
hour?
So I know that they have shorter ones. This one was about an hour, and I took a quiz afterwards, 4 questions. And I felt it was really purposeful to what I was looking for so that I felt engaged. Sometimes some of the webinars you attend are kind of dry, but I didn't feel that way with this.
Awesome. Yeah, there's all kinds of them listed here too, things that are coming up. So be sure to check those out.
So one of the things that I love about Common Sense Media, so when I was teaching third grade, I use this in my classroom. There are 3 to 7 lessons per grade level. I think your kindergarten and first graders are on the lower end. Second grade seems to have the most lessons. And then third through 12 seems to be pretty consistent around 5 or 6. And I would do 1 lesson a week. So I didn't feel like it was something additional that I needed to do. I felt like it was really manageable. So it wasn't every day that I had to do it. I could do it if you think the first 6 weeks of school, right? Easy enough to put 1 lesson per week. And our digital citizenship is really setting our kiddos up to know how to use technology, to know how to manage their time using technology, to know how to be safe using technology. In third grade, they start the lessons on creating their own individual passwords. So being safe and protecting yourself. And I think all of that really fits into the first 6 weeks of school. If we're giving kids devices, especially this year, where they all have them, they're all taking them home, we need to start teaching them how to safely and responsibly use these tools that we're giving them.
Yeah, exactly. I was just scrolling through. So Corey was saying that the second grade does seem to have the most, and third grade has quite a few as well. And both second grade and third grade talk about the is it just third grade, the power up, the password power up, talking about privacy and that sort of thing. And as Corey was saying, as you get higher into the grades, you can see more intense topics. And then once you get into the 5th grade, you talk about cyberbullying.
They even get into like looking at your sources and even into the topics of like race and equity and bias and things like that, gender stereotypes I see on your screen, Jenny.
Yeah.
So I love that they have this idea that digital citizenship should start when our kids are really young. If you think about it, when kids come into kindergarten, chances are they've probably already been exposed to technology at home. I mean, I have two kids myself. They're both older. But I remember when they were in kindergarten and it was like, how many times did I hand my phone off to one of my kids because I needed them to be occupied while waiting in the doctor's office or something. So our kids are exposed to this so early. So I love that Common Sense has lessons starting right off in kindergarten, and then they build as the kids go up through the grades. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah. And as you can see, like, I'm up to 11th grade right now, and one of the topics is who's looking at your digital footprint, which seems to be a really popular topic right now. You know, where you go and what you're doing, you're being tracked. Like, people can see that. If you go for a job interview or a college interview, people can check out like your Facebook account and those sorts of things. So what's on there? What story are you telling about yourself? And online hate speech, that's 12th grade. So it goes from kindergarten all the way up through 12th grade, which is amazing. Are there any pieces and parts that I didn't
So Jenny, if you go to digital citizenship and hover over it, do you have all the way over on student games? I think this is always fun to point out. That Common Sense has gamified some of this for our students because students love games. And so it's just a nice way to supplement some of those lessons. And I can't read your screen, but it looks like they have 3
the
through
digital
5.
passport. So they have a digital passport grades 3 to 5, and then they have 6 to 8. So I just clicked on the 3 to 5. And there's an educator guide that goes along with that. So let's see. Oh, here's one on password protect. Should we try it out?
Sure.
All right, let's see. Let's play a game. No, we don't need to save it. Okay, let's see. Ooh. So it has you do your username, and then it says your username should be all one word. You can use up to 12 characters. So let's use Coffee Coach. And then you can play the game. So I'm not sure if everybody can see very well or not, or hear it, but there's some music playing. In school, your teacher may give you a safe password to use, but when you go online at home, you may need another password. Your password is like a suit of armor. Let's practice. So then it just wants you to build a password. Cool. X out of that. Okay.
So what other games do they have? Can you scroll down? So we've got password protect. What else do they have?
Yes, let's see. Walkers. Share jumper. Evolve. Search shark. Ooh, that's a good one. Mix and mash. And that looks like all. But I am noticing this hot little button right here on, I think all the games had it. Yeah. So you can share this right to your Google Classroom. That's awesome. I did not know that. See, I just learned something new.
And it also looks like it tells you what students will be able to do, so you can maybe match it up to different lessons.
Yeah. Right. So it tells you inside it. So like this game is mix and mash. And it says learn about copyright, credit, and plagiarism and apply their knowledge to their own creative work. Reflect on the ethical importance of giving credit to others for their work. Determine how to receive credit for their digital creations. So in my teacher brain, I'm thinking this would be a great introduction when we are doing research of any kind, building projects, whatever that happens to be, to introduce about why we need to write the sources of where we're getting our information of, and we have to put things into our own words. That would be a great way to introduce that. Cool. All right.
Awesome.
And I love this distance learning tab too.
Wide open school.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So that's something fairly new. Did that start just before COVID or right after
I
COVID?
think it came out because of COVID. I think they developed this as a response to, my understanding was as a response to COVID and giving students something to look at during the summer to help with the summer slide, and that they've kept it going. And there's some like really interesting stuff on here. I was exploring it, and one of the things that really jumped out at me, because I was really thinking about, you know, how many of the topics within digital citizenship already apply to what we're teaching students, you know, looking at things through a critical lens and things like that. And so I had just noticed that with the election coming up, they have something in there about a young voters guide, and it looking at the validity of sources with the election coming up and how to really determine good sources, reliable sources from those that are unreliable, and just how that already fits into what we teach kids in especially like middle and high school. So it's a really cool site, and they've got like a student tab, they have a parent and teacher tab, and then I think they've got one other resources in Spanish. Okay.
Yeah.
But they go into like, Jenny, do you see the white button where it says explore digital citizenship?
Yeah.
I think if you click on that, they then break it. Oh, okay. Now go to where it says digital citizenship. They break it into different topics.
Oh, I love this.
But they also have more topics than this. And I think it's in the family and teacher resources where they go into specific. So if you click on either resources for families or resources for teachers and click on where it says resources for teachers, how it goes into equity and social justice. And I can't read it. I don't.
Internet access and devices, learning and thinking differences, and family services.
Just like all of those things that we've been talking about lately are right here for us.
That's great.
SEL and digital citizenship and distance learning. I mean,
there's the election 2020 youth media screening. These are great. I haven't had time to explore these, but I think I might want to take some time to go through this part of it. This is great. So, you know, and this is all in just one website, you know, commonsense.org. And there is such a huge plethora of information out there. And there's even some great, if we were to go back for a second, this where it says for parents, there's so many great articles and things in here that we could share with parents. I recently, last year, even found an article that I shared with one of the schools for their weekly newsletter, and it just has so much great information that is I have no words. I don't know where my words went. Current. So what we're going through. So when we were in the throes of COVID back in March and April, it had all these tips for parents on helping their children online and what to do and what not to do and those sorts of things. And it seemed so quick and just like out there. And I don't know what I'm saying.
So one other resource that I found for digital citizenship is that Google also has something out there. Let's see. I'm going to put that one up on my screen. So they have a site called Be Internet Awesome. And while when I was teaching, I definitely preferred Common Sense Media because I felt like the lessons were really manageable and fit into my day and into my lesson plans. I did supplement from here. So the difference with with Common Sense and Google's Be Internet Awesome is that Be Internet Awesome is really geared towards your second through sixth graders, which makes sense because that's sort of when you think about second grade, kids are really starting to become a lot more independent, and they're starting to explore more as they're getting into the older grades. And then maybe by later middle school, uh, I think that your second through sixth graders are when it's really most important to start teaching these kids. We should be teaching them earlier, but I think that they're most open, and maybe understanding of some of these really difficult topics that we're asking them to look at. So they have curriculum that you can download, and I have it right here. And where Common Sense is only 3 to 7 lessons per grade, Google is a little bit more comprehensive. So they have what they call lessons, but the way it's broken down, their lessons are maybe a little bit more like units. So they have a unit here, don't fall for fake. And then they have activities underneath, which I would say probably act more like lessons, that you would not teach all 6 activities within one lesson. That would be unmanageable. But within that, they've got overviews, they've got themes, they are connecting it to different standards. They have the ISTE standards in there. They have vocabulary that you're teaching kids. They have the goals, questions to ask kids, things like that. And then, similar to what Common Sense is offering, they also have games for students. And I'm trying to find where they are. It's called Interland, and I've probably skipped over it right here. Interland for Google Classroom. And so these are games where the kids kind of go on a journey and answer different questions. And they've got a whole bunch of resources down here, resources for parents. If you use Pear Deck, they have lessons already built into Google Slides for you, things like that. So I find that sometimes one source is not enough, and supplementing it with an additional source, because we're looking at lots of different learners and meeting their needs and differentiating. And so sometimes just having different options for kids is really nice too.
Lisa says that she loves the connection to the ISTE standards.
Oh, okay. So let's try this. We can show our comments. We're learning all sorts of new things here.
Yes, we are.
Yeah, it's nice when they put those standards in there. I think it makes it easier for us as educators because we want to know why is this relevant to us. And I think sometimes we think about the content standards and we sometimes forget that there are standards that go beyond that, and that our technology standards are really important.
Yeah, it is really easy to forget about those tech standards, and the ISTE standards are great. It includes much more than just digital citizenship, and it's something I think, if you get a minute, teachers should really explore those standards too, because it gives you a grade level example of what kinds of technology skills students should be developing.
And so some of our teachers or viewers might not know what the ISTE standards are. It's a fairly new concept to me. So so the ISTE standards are just what you said, Al, right? Like they're all those technology based standards that students should know. Is that a quick, easy way to explain it?
That's a quick, easy way to explain it. It's things like, in kindergarten, they ought to be able to know how to turn on and turn off their Chromebook and use a mouse to navigate a screen or a touchpad. And as they go through the grade levels, you build technology skills. Some of those things include the digital citizenship things that we're talking about, like how to set safe passwords, how to not share your passwords with other people. How to identify phishing scams, when you get older, fake news, all of that sort of thing. But it's beyond that, keyboarding. When do you start teaching a student keyboarding? What other skills should they develop as they go through the grade levels? All of that is listed in the ISTE standards.
think maybe we'll link the standards down below the video on YouTube. We've got a few things that we can link out to. We can link out to Common Sense Education. We can link out to Google's Be Internet Awesome, the ISTE standards. I think that would be really helpful. All right. Do we have anything else that we want to share before we end? I think it's important to know that if you haven't started teaching digital citizenship, it's not too late to start. I know I mentioned it fits really nicely in the first 6 weeks of school, but you can really teach them anytime. And it would be a great time to start if we were to go remote. Teaching this ahead of time helps our students' skills. Sometimes, students who are visiting sites that they shouldn't when they're at home and they're supposed to be on a Google Meet and instead they're doing other things. I think all of this will help with that if we were to go remote again. So I highly encourage you to check out Common Sense Education, check out Google's Be Internet Awesome, and just start with one lesson. Pick one that you feel is most relevant to your grade. I don't think they have to be taught in any specific order.
No, that's the great thing about it is I was helping a teacher last year do some of these, and the students hadn't been exposed to any of the lessons before. So even though these were 5th and 6th graders, we did some of the 3rd grade lessons and some of the 4th grade lessons and sort of built up to, because I think that's important to kind of start where they're at, not necessarily what grade they're in.
Yeah, and there are things, especially at the high school level, that really need to be talked about too. And I think there's a lot that adults can get out of it. Like, who is watching
Right.
the information you put out there online? What happens to that Snapchat video that you think has disappeared but really hasn't?
Really hasn't.
What are marketing companies doing with all of the data you plug in? Have you ever wondered why you get some of the targeted ads you get? All of that can be explained in these, especially on Common Sense Media. They do a good job of taking you through that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
The 9 to 12 lessons, especially. So yeah, it's something we should all be exploring.
It's fun. They're fun lessons.
Yeah. They are. All right. I think that's it for today. And thank you for joining us. And we will see you next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.